Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my brackets for the summer knockouts in the Eastern region. There's two brackets, the A bracket and the B bracket, so we'll start with the A. We'll do the B. Obviously lots of meta changing with the new patch in the new season. There's a new game mode with Flashpoint, so a lot of things. We'll have to see what happens here. So kind of going into this with no real idea of what's going on. There's been some whispers and some rumors about what the meta is, but we'll see for sure. Hopefully here in the next couple of days. So let's jump in and let's start with bracket A. First match here is Poker Face versus Panthera. Two teams, honestly, that are not great, if I'm being honest with you. Both these teams pretty weak overall. I don't think this is an incredible set of matches here. I feel pretty good about Panthera to take down Poker Face. I will say, if Orisa is meta, as the rumors seem to point to, I actually think Muse is a very solid tank player on Orisa, and I think that could help this team out. However, I have been the biggest hater for the DPS duo of this team. Now that Finale's gone, I don't think they're very good. So I'm going to take Panthera. I think it'll be close because I really don't think either of these teams are good. But I'll take Panthera because I think they at least have shown me more in the past few, in the summer stage for me to think they should be able to take this one. The other game here in the first round is Rhodes versus Dreamers. Dreamers, the best contenders team in the Eastern region right now. Even better than a number of Overwatch League teams, namely Shanghai and Guangzhou, in terms of their overall standing. So I think that it's pretty clear right now they are the higher team. And if you consider Dreamer, he's a main tank player traditionally, I think he'll be pretty solid on Orisa, assuming that is where the meta goes. So I think it's a pretty easy win for Dreamers over Rhodes. I was not super impressed by Rhodes in the spring stage. I wasn't super impressed by them by what we saw in the summer qualifiers or the summer opens. I don't think they've looked particularly incredible. I think Dreamers just looks better right now. So give me Dreamers in a pretty one-sided affair. Next, we have Panthera taking on the Dallas Fuel. This should be an easy win for Dallas. I don't know what to expect from them. I don't know if Hanbin's going to look great on Orisa, if they're going to try to play something else. I really don't know. But I think that Hanbin's been playing very well in the second half of the season. I think that we've seen MTD and Bliss really start to click, which I think helps them a lot. And I think that Edison and Sparkle have found comfort roles that really work for them. Like I said, meta change. It's hard to really predict exactly what's going to happen, but Dallas is way too good to lose to Panthera. Panthera has not been good this stage. They have not had good results, so I'm pretty confident that the Dallas Fuel will be victorious over Panthera. And then Hangzhou Spark versus Dreamers. They've played a couple times. They met in the spring knockouts finals for their bracket, the A bracket, back when the spring stage happened. Hangzhou won that series. As much as I like Dreamers, I think they are a pretty good team. Hangzhou they're so good. I'm going to be generous and give Dreamers a map. I don't think it's going to be a particularly close series. It was a dominant performance last time by the Spark. Generally speaking, it's a pretty dominant performance, but I like where these teams are at in general. I think both these teams are overall pretty solid, so I want to give them at least a little bit of recognition for what they've been able to do so far, but I think Spark should win this one. And like I said, I don't think it'll be particularly close. It's just very difficult to expect really good results out of the, a contenders team against an Overwatch team full of just all-time great players, some of the greatest players in the history of the league, honestly. In some cases, like Leave and Gushui, they're phenomenal. So, yeah, give me the Spark in this one. Moving to the lower bracket now, Poker Face versus Dreamers. A matchup that I think most people thought would have been a better matchup, but Poker Face has just not looked very good, and Dreamers has continued to impress me, so I'll give it to Dreamers. I do think if any contenders team could surprise us and get out of the knockouts, it would be Dreamers, but I don't think it's likely, but I think they should be able to beat Poker Face with somewhat relative ease because they are the better team there. Panthera versus Rhodes. Sorry, Rhodes, you're not nearly as good as Panthera in my eyes. I'll say it's a 3-1. I think that the level here is a little bit closer than what you have with Dreamers and Poker Face. I think that Panthera is not an incredible team. I think it's kind of unlucky. I think Poker Face probably would beat Rhodes if that was the matchup for them, but I just don't feel great about the low-level contenders teams right now, and so give me Panthera over Rhodes. Upper bracket, Dallas Fuel, Hangzhou Spark. Banger of a matchup last time these two teams played. It was a 3-2 win for the Hangzhou Spark. I don't think it was a reverse sweep. I don't believe it was. Maybe it was. I don't remember it being a reverse sweep, but it always could be. It's always a possibility. It's been a couple weeks now. I don't remember exactly, but it was a 3-2 win for the Hangzhou Spark. Very close series, very close matchup. This is kind of the banger of the match here. I think they'll probably play twice. They'll play here in the upper bracket finals, and they'll play in the finals of this bracket. I just think that they're far and away the two best teams in this group. I respect Dreamers. I think they're good. I think Dreamers is the clear-cut number 3, but I think it's very hard for Dreamers to do better than these two specific juggernaut franchises. So this is where it gets very tough to kind of predict. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be another banger, so I'll set it up just like that for now. I'm trying to convince myself how this will go. And I think for me, the main thing I'm looking at is how do I feel about these teams having to potentially play a new composition, new meta with different kind of looks. I think that the thing that really will speak to me is who is the bigger Orisa and more kind of successful Orisa as time goes on. Because from what I've seen, Gushui plays a really good Winston. He's played a pretty good Rhine in the past, but I'm not 100% sold on his Orisa. With Hanbin, we know Hanbin's a really good Diva, a really good Zarya, really good Sigma. I think new Orisa in Overwatch 2 is a little more off-tank-like than her Overwatch 1 counterpart. And so I think there's definitely possibility and room for off-tank players to be pretty good on Orisa, especially because I think they'll be much better at kind of finding some of that effectiveness with the Javelin and with the gun, her fusion driver. That's the name of it. So I think in that way, Hanbin probably has the edge, but I think it's very close. I think that the real kind of key will be who's kind of the really high-level ERE in this, or ERE, however you want to pronounce it. I mess it up every single time. You're thinking, if the meta, I think BAP ERE is potentially meta. In that case, that could be a really good look for Pineapple and Monk, whereas how do Bliss and MCD look there? So I think it's going to be very close. I think I'm going to lean, at least in this first matchup, in the favor of the Spark. They won last time these two teams played. I think they're probably right now in the better spot. So I think they are the team that will advance. But I'm very, very, very interested to see what happens here. Because I think the matchup is very interesting. And I think depending on the meta, we could see very different looks from these teams. And this could be the type of meta where one of these teams is just bad. Just straight up not very good in this meta. And so that will be the real kind of big sign to see for what happens here. Let's now go to the lower bracket. Dreamers taking on Panthera. Pretty clear-cut Dreamers victory for me. Like I said, there's a clear top 3 teams in this group. Dallas and Hangzhou are 1 and 2. What order, we don't know yet. Dreamers are the third best team here. They should be able to win with ease. I don't think Panthera is very good. I think they should be essentially an easy, just barely a speed bump, if you will, for Dreamers. I really think that they are the better team right now. That sets up a Dreamers Dallas Fuel matchup. I think this one could be decently close. I think Dallas will win it. I thought this matchup when they played in the summer stage would be closer than it ended up being. I'll give Dreamers a map because I think potentially in an Orisa meta they could look a little bit better. I think that you have this kind of reset now where every team is on an even playing field. And I think there's potential with a very new-looking meta that a team that you wouldn't expect to be very good kind of does catch fire and has a very good run and ends up in a pretty good spot, potentially making it into the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Dreamers is the most likely, like I said. If any team does have it, it will be Dreamers. But I don't think they have enough to get past both the Spark and the Fuel. I think that's too much of a tall task. But I really like what we've seen from Dreamers so far. I'm sad if this is the end of Dreamers, because I like what we've seen from them so far, and I think they're one of the teams. I love their branding. I love everything about them. So, shout out to Dreamers, even if they don't make it very far, even if they make it this far, right? I think they've done a lot of really cool things and great things. I'm very happy with what they've been as a team so far. This would, of course, set up a rematch for Hangzhou Spark versus Dallas Fuel in the finals. Once again, I think this one should be a banger. Last time around in the spring stage, the finals were both super one-sided in favor of the Spark and in favor of the Infernal. I'm hoping this time around it's a little bit better. I think there's closer high-end teams. I think the Spark, Fuel, and Infernal are all very good. They're all quite close together, whereas before it was pretty clear that the Spark and the Infernal were just much better than the rest of the group and much better than the rest of the region. So I hope this is a banger. I hope this is a close one. The setup here is interesting because obviously these two teams, Hangzhou had a first place finish in the last tournament and Dallas had a second place finish. So if the Spark were to win this game, they would automatically make it into the playoffs. If the Fuel were to win this game, that would tie them with the Spark. And then depending on what happens in bracket B, you could have a tiebreaker. You know, there's a lot of kind of things here. So I'm very interested in what happens here. I think the fact that the Spark beat the Fuel in the summer qualifiers makes this incredibly difficult to predict, because if Dallas was going into this undefeated, I'd give them the benefit of the doubt. They'll probably take it. But it's the fact that they've struggled against the Spark. They're the team they've struggled against the most this season. That gives me reason to hesitate and think that they might not be better than the Spark specifically. I think it's close. Like I said, I think it could go either way. But I feel like, considering where things are and what we've seen from the teams, it seems like support is going to be a really big deal. As good as we've seen MCD and Bliss, I think if it's a double flex meta, you have to favor Monk and Pineapple, maybe. You know, it gets a little odd there, but it is very, very close. And the tank matchup is very interesting as well. But I just think the Spark slightly better in that support duo. I think Gushui Hanbin could be close. I think I'd favor Hanbin a little bit more, but could be decently close. And damage, I think I favor the Spark as well. So I think I'm going to give it to the Spark. Close one. Very, very close. It's a tough one to call. But give me the Spark to move on out of this bracket and lock in a playoff spot. I don't know. I really don't know what to expect. But yeah. So let's now move on to bracket B for the B group. Here we are. This group is a lot. So some teams that these brackets, look, I have a lot of problems with these brackets. I think they're terribly unbalanced. Bracket B is so much easier than bracket A. The Soul Infernal keep getting the lucky end of the stick. They keep getting, by getting second place, they keep getting the easiest bracket imaginable, which I don't understand how they've determined these brackets. Doesn't make any sense, but I digress. First matchup is Guangzhou Charge versus O2 Blast. How the mighty have fallen. Guangzhou in the spring stage were the best team in the league in the Eastern region, and O2 Blast was the best contenders team. And now we're looking at two of the absolute worst teams in this group. I mean, you can see O2 Blast are the higher seeded team in this tournament, considering the higher seeded teams you can see are on the bottom. O2 Blast, Shanghai, Panthera, Dreamers, Spark, Fuel, you know. I guess this one's a little different because it's a little... You got the idea, right? Lower seed, the lower they are in the bracket, in this case, the higher seeded they are. So O2 Blast finished above Guangzhou Charge. I think both these teams are bad. This game's going to be bad, but if memory serves me correctly, the Charge didn't lose to O2 Blast. I think the Charge will be better now. They've had a bit more time to get this new roster kind of up to where they want it. I think there's a chance that they're at least decent. So I think Charge will beat O2 Blast. I think O2 Blast, they had so much, they lost almost all of their talent after the spring stage that it's very difficult to expect really anything to go their way, unfortunately. So yeah, this game's gonna be bad, but give me charge. Shanghai versus SPG, a rematch from last tournament, from the spring knockouts, where SPG beat the Shanghai Dragons in the first round. One of the big contenders over Overwatch League victories. I don't really think it's going to happen this time around. I think Shanghai look a lot better with the, addition of Fate as their main tank as opposed to having Fleta. I think that has helped this team quite a bit. I think they look better with the Fate main tank. I think he has just been a better part for this team. I think he's been a more solid piece for this team. So I think Shanghai will win this one. I'll give SPG a map just because they beat them the last time, and I think the story will be fun. But I think Shanghai will get revenge. I think it'll be a good win for them. Finally, kind of showing people that was kind of a fluke. They're not going to let that happen again because it happened the first time, and they do not want it to be a pattern that is being repeated over and over again. So I kind of expect it to be that way. Now we get some fun matchups. Seoul Infernal, Guangzhou Charge. The top two teams from the spring stage, no longer the case there. Infernal sweep, man, they're going to just roll them. Charge, not good enough for me to think that they have any real shot at beating the team that I think is one of the best teams in the Eastern region. So give me the Infernal. Shanghai versus the Seoul Dynasty is very fun. Obviously, the last time these two teams met was a Shanghai win. Shanghai's actually won both of their matchups this season. It was their only win in the spring stage and one of their wins in the summer stage. Now, I think it's important to note that I think the Seoul Dynasty have gotten better since that game. That was before Vindime was added to the roster. After they lost to Shanghai, they beat Panthera. They beat the Spark. They had that ugly loss to O2 Blast. But then they beat Dreamers. They beat Poker Face. They beat the Charge. And then they lost to the Infernal. So I think that when you look at what they've done, I think once they added Vindime, I think the team looked better. I think they became more of a solid piece. I think they look better now. Both of their losses to Shanghai, the first one was just like a shock, and the second one I think was Shanghai had gotten their roster where they wanted it. The Dynasty were still working some pieces in and making some changes, so I think it'll be pretty close. I'm going to go in favor of the Dynasty because I'm a believer, but I'm going to say it's a 3-2. Whoops. 3-2 for the Dynasty because I think that they look a little bit better. They had an ugly series, but I honestly think that if Arisa's meta, you might be able to get away with playing Void. And I think when Void plays, they look better. So there you go. I think Fate on Shanghai, huge piece for them. That could be a boon for them. I think you think about how good of a player Fate is, and main tank is kind of his main role. Definitely could provide some decent stuff there. But the Dynasty, to me, have been the kind of more consistent team since Vindame got added to the roster. And so I think that they'll take this one. But I think it'll be good because it's been a good matchup. And it's one of the best rivalries in the history of the Overwatch League. So I just want it to be good, honestly. Next, O2 Blast, Shanghai Dragons. Give me Shanghai. O2 Blast, like I said, how the mighty have fallen. They have nothing going for them. Shanghai's a better team here. They should win it. And I think that's a pretty easy one. SPG versus the Guangzhou Charge. I mean, I think both these teams are not going to be incredibly exciting. But I think the Charge are probably the better team. SPG had to play through contenders. They didn't even get to play in the summer stage with everyone else. They're not great. They're an okay contenders team. I think Guangzhou, they're still Overwatch League talent. They're all players that have been in the Overwatch League, that are Overwatch League veterans, have been around the block. They know what they're doing. They're not going to lose to SPG, so at least they shouldn't lose to SPG. So give me Charge in that one. This sets up a fun upper bracket game between the Seoul Infernal and the Seoul Dynasty. Seoul Bowl, Seoul Throwdown, and the Infernal are probably going to dominate it. I don't know how much I buy into the Mag Arisa, and I do have some concerns about the team as a whole. But I definitely feel better about where they are than where the Dynasty are. And the Dynasty, when they've looked good, have been okay. But I think the Infernal are just a better team. I think they should take this one and lock in a spot in the B bracket finals. Shanghai Dragon versus Guangzhou Charge. Right now, I think that Shanghai looks like the better team pretty significantly. I'll say 3-1 for them. I think that they are going to be more comfortable in this meta. I love what we've seen out of Viper and Hisang, or Hisu. How could I do that? It's been too long. Viper and Hisu have been very good this year. I think they've looked phenomenal, and I think that just having a bit more consistency and that veteran presence on this roster has helped a lot. These are players that I think have, generally speaking, been more successful and performed higher than the players that the Charge have. So, yeah, give me Shanghai to take this one. Set up a rematch with the Seoul Dynasty, which honestly, do I think the Dragons will, be significantly better from the first game to the second game? Not particularly. But part of me just wants to see Shanghai win this one instead of the Dynasty. I think it'll be close again. I don't really want to see another Seoul Dynasty or Seoul Infernal game because other than the first one that they played where Prophet just carried this team to a victory, they've been pretty bad. And it just was not a great matchup last time we saw it. I don't expect it to be good in the upper bracket. I want to see these Shanghai players get some success. I think that these players have earned it. I think they deserve it. They've been through so much. I think the Dynasty have been one of their teams they've been the best against so far. I think for the storybooks of the Dragons Dynasty rivalry, I think a good bookend for it would be the Dragons taking this match here. But I don't really think it matters who wins this one, because I think the Infernal are going to win it anyway. The Infernal are the best team in this group. We all know they're the best team in this group. They have a pretty easy run, much like they did in the first tournament. They once again luck out with the easier side of the bracket here in the second one. So there we are. That is my two brackets, my predictions. I have the Spark taking it over the Fuel in bracket A, and the Infernal taking it over the Dragons in bracket B. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on where you think these brackets are going to go. Do you think I'm out of my mind? Do you think I have lost it? Do you think this break has been so long that I have just completely gone off the goop and I don't remember anything and don't know what I'm talking about anymore? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on anything, like I said. And if you enjoyed this video and want more like it in the future, consider liking and subscribing. Your support does help out a lot with the channel. That's going to be all from me for today. I hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. And until next time, bye-bye.